Well, g'day and welcome back to the Perkins Engineering YouTube channel. This is episode 55. And I tell you, this is an episode I've been meaning to try and do for a long time. Most of my episodes I can sort of get everything together pretty quickly, start filming and knock it over. But this one's actually taken quite a lot of organising. I've had to dig out a fair bit of old race gear and things to kind of show you what I wanted to show you. So without any more talking and mucking around, let's get stuck straight into it. In this episode, I want to talk about driver apparel from way back in the 70s when my dad first started through his career, finished in 2003. And I've also got some stuff from today, as recent as last year, some of my own driving gear. So what I've done is I've dragged out a bunch of old race suits, helmets, some boots, gloves, some of the underwear and bits and pieces, just to give you a bit of a rundown on the driver apparel. And more importantly, what I've done is sort of weighed everything as well, so you get a bit of an understanding of what was what through the different periods. So if we start with the race suit collection, the first one I could find, this denim looking number, which was, I believe, sort of early 70s for my father. Look, doesn't appear to be sort of flame-proof in any way, shape or form. It's a linear sport brand made in Italy, so there must be some element of sort of safety to it. But I tell you, it's you know, the zipper has seized up, and it's certainly an old relic. But that old suit there, and you can sort of see just how that would probably only just fit me now. But like, it feels quite weighted. But I mean, it would probably only put out a fire in the kitchen if you chucked it over the stove, sort of thing, to be honest. But a really cool old suit, TAA badges. And the helmet to match this suit, right here, Kawanji Kid. So this is what Dad raced with his open wheeler, with goggles, and matching this suit. So as you can see, an open face helmet, bit of race tape holding the peak on there, and not a lot of safety standards in that particular era. And to run you through those weights, I have written them down on a bit of paper. So that race suit, 1.3 kilos, and that first helmet, 1.5 kilos. Now, I don't have any boots or gloves from that era, but I can imagine the gloves would have been, again, not very flame retardant, and the shoes probably just lace-up boots. The next vintage is Formula One. So Dad was fortunate enough to race Formula One 1976, 1977, but I couldn't find one of his suits. Now, you may or may not believe me, but this is a Nelson PK Parliament Formula One race suit that my dad was gifted by Nelson. They were friends back in that period. But Dad wanted to use it, so he picked off all the badging and the names and everything, and that's the only little badge left on this suit, which is crazy because he's obviously world champion, and this suit may or may not have been worth a hell of a lot more money if the badges were still on there. But such the way as my dad was quite resourceful, he would have used this suit through that period. And let me tell you, this suit is heavy. It feels thick. It feels fireproof. I can't quite make out the brand of it, but it feels, you know, 3 or 4 layers of Nomex material. You can really see that kind of shiny material. And yeah, I say this is when the safety started to grab another gear, obviously with fires and whatnot. You can see some of the coloured badging. Dad didn't do a brilliant job getting rid of it, but I assume there was a big blue section through there with Parliament. So a very cool suit to have on the rack. And just to let you know, the weight on that one, 2 kilos. And the helmet here that Dad had in that particular era was 1.3 kilos. So this is a Formula One race-used helmet from my father. You see the rotary watches, Stanley BRM logo there. All the stone chips to match. Look, to be honest, it feels really light. The visor is incredibly flimsy. It's held together with a button, a press stud that you'd find on a jacket or something. Doesn't feel like something that would stand the test of today's safety standards. Massive, big eye port on the helmet visor. As we know, that got shrunk down FIA standards after Felipe Massa had an incident with a coil spring that came through that section. But again, I wouldn't race with that today, and that was on the grid in the 70s with my old man. So sort of stepping through, I found another open wheeler helmet of Dad's. This is probably more late 70s in Australia. A lot of stone chips on this one, and you can see, again, very small. Not sure exactly what car that was using, but obviously it would have had a visor on it. And that particular helmet weighing in at 1.1 kilos, so relatively light, to be fair. And then the next generation I've got is actually the Silk Cut Jaguar. So in 1988, Dad raced for Tom Walkinshaw Racing, TWR logo there on the side. And I tell you, this is a very nice bit of kit. This is J-brand racewear. It feels, there's a nearly dropped it on the floor. It feels quite light by comparison to the PK suit, but it's obviously well made. It would be probably 3 layers. What's it say? Flame resistant, does not melt, and the rest is in a different language. But yeah, I'd say that's going to be 3 layers, and yeah, very cool suit. Like, it looks great. The design, the embroidered badges, not the cloth badges. Got the name up there, LP. So that was a really cool bit of kit, and I got the weight on that particular suit, 1.0 kilos, so half the weight of the Nelson PK one. And I got 2 helmets from Le Mans, actually. This is the helmet that Dad used in '84 with Peter Brock. How do we know that? It's got the Le Mans scrutineering sticker. Again, this would have had a visor, but it was for a particular standard. I know when Dad went over to Le Mans, whatever he was using in Australian touring car racing didn't quite cut the mustard. So this was a new helmet for that race. Again, not sure where the visor got to, but that was from 1984. And those of you that will notice in 84 or 82, 83, 84, when Dad raced with Brock, his iconic colours got switched to the Marlboro colours. So he was able to use this one in Le Mans. But the story goes in 88, with the Silk Cut Jag that he got over there again, and the helmet wasn't quite up to standard, so he had to update, and this started a long run of Arai branded helmets. This was actually one of the first Arais that I can tell from photos, and I got to use it in some of my early karting days. Dad used it sort of late 80s into the 90s in the touring cars. There's a good shot of that from 1990 and 1991. I might even be able to put it over the top of this video when I do the edit. So again, that's a GP2 Arai helmet, and that helmet weighs in at 1.2 kilos, and the 84 is 1.3 kilos. So getting pretty similar trends on the weights of those. And then a 1990 touring car suit. I've actually got one here. This is the exact suit that Dad used in 1990. Couple of cloth badges. This is Simpson brand. Again, doesn't feel that heavy. Feels pretty well made, but typical Perkins Engineering fashion. Very low budget on these sorts of things. Started with a bit of home additions here. This would have been my mum sewing on a bit of Velcro, and what that was for was the radio cord. Came off the helmet, Velcro there, ran down the leg, and actually plugged in right near the gear lever. So just used to help in the driver changes. But yeah, a really cool suit from 1990. And the weight on the 1990 suit, if I refer to my notes, 1.2 to 1.3 kilos. So a little bit heavier than the Silk Cut Jag one, and not very breathable. And these days you try and blow through the material just to see how breathable they are. And the Silk Cut Jag one, very breathable by comparison to these two, which, like I said, would probably put out a fire on the ground by just chucking it over like a fire blanket. Next up, we've sort of got kind of, I don't know, mid-90s, late 90s into the 2000s. So I grabbed one of Dad's race suits. This has got VT Commodore on it, so 1998, 1999. Australian made now, so RPM race gear, which is part of Revolution race gear, still around today. Tulio and the team do a great job making suits. Very cool, so starting with the custom designs now, different colours. Perkins embroidered on it. They did have a waist belt on them, but I think it got cut off to help the driver changes. And instead of running the Velcro for the radio cord, Dad just cut a hole in the leg. The scrutineers won't like seeing some of these modifications that Dad made to those race suits. So that's that particular one, so what did we say? That was 98, 99. That's 1.3 to 1.4 kilos. And then Dad's last race suit, 2002, 2003. This one, 1.5 kilos. So a bit heavier in the material. You can kind of feel that already. And a lot more embroidery. And obviously 3 layers of sort of Nomex material. Well, yeah, double layer, triple layer. So again, Revolution race gear made in Australia. Really cool looking suits actually. That nice shiny white material. Bit hard to keep clean. And name badge here on the waist belt. And that's one of Dad's last suits. The little flap here, which today is used for cool suit hoses, which I've got a cool suit to show later on in this video. But that was actually to plug a fan in there and just blow some air onto the body and try and cool it down, such as the technology back then. And one of the last of Dad's helmets that I've got here, sort of from that same period. What's the weight on this one? So 1.5, 1.6 kilos. So that's an Arrow helmet. It's got the cams sticker on the back, which is obviously a scrutineering thing. Oh, there we go, 1998 it says on it. So that's exactly what that year was. And Dad used to cut out the cheek padding, make that material smaller, less thick, so that he could pull it on over his glasses. Again, the scrutineers would love to hear all these stories now. And another difference is it's actually got speakers in there, right in here, and you'd plug the radio in, speakers and a microphone, and Dad would wear foam earplugs in his ear, but the speaker was loud enough to be able to talk back to the crew over the top of those earplugs, which I've actually got some earplugs here. These are the foam jobbies, which you'll see at a sort of safety shop these days. Dad was famous for all of them, leaving them in toolboxes and race suit pockets and on the floor and whatnot. And then today we use a molded earplug. So no speakers in helmets. These are molded to our ears, and then it plugs into the radio loom, and the sound from the crew comes straight through to these earpieces. And then I thought it was probably worth putting in a race suit and things from more recent times. So this was my retro race suit last year, made by Revolution Race Gear. Again, nice and light, not that real shiny material. It's a bit more sort of matte or dull finish by comparison to some of the earlier suits that we showed you, but you can really breathe through it, really lightweight. A couple of bits of embroidery, which was part of the retro. Those big embroidery slabs, they kind of can take away a little bit of breathability and add a bit of weight, but looks trick. The Shaw & Partners retro that we did last year to copy the 1993 suit, and another one from last year. So let me get the weights on them. The retro was 1.3, and this one, I tell you, this is my Erebus Coca-Cola suit from last year. Probably a bit of a collector's item today based on what's been transpiring, but 0.9 of a kilo. Made in Italy by Sparco, arguably the sort of best manufacturers in the world. Really light, incredibly breathable, and no embroidery. It's all printed on, sort of labeling that doesn't come off in the wash or anything. Yeah, so very good quality suit, brought in by Racer Industries, who's also involved with Blanchard Racing Team, Cool Drive, family-owned business, who I'm driving for in the endurance races this year. So my suit this year, Snowy River Caravans, will be a Sparco suit. But before you say, hey, how come today's drivers have got, 1 to 1.2 kilos lighter in race suits? Well, they're the same amount of layers, but we have to wear another layer of underwear clothing. So it's a single layer Nomex top. Have to wear balaclava and pants underneath the race suit. So there's pants, top, balaclava, all meeting an FIA standard, and socks. We have to chuck all of that on underneath the race suit, and combine all that together is another 0.5 of a kilo. So all up, it's about 1.6 kilos worth of fireproof gear. So that, is quite a lot of stuff to be carrying and adds a lot to your sort of body weight. And then this is one of the cool suits that I speak of. So the cabin temperatures in a supercar today, around about 20 degrees above ambient. So it's 25 outside, it's going to be 45 up to 50 degrees in the car. And this shirt has tubing around it. And what that does, we've got 2 connections. You plug them into an esky or a cool box, and it recycles cool water over the body to keep your body and your core temperature down as low as possible. So that's sort of a bit of a necessity these days in supercars. And so that can be worn without the other Nomex shirt. And the weight on that is 0.5 to 0.6 of a kilo. So I've also brought in one of my helmets from last year, which was a LP copy. So the color scheme looks the same. This is the Stilo brand of helmet, brought in by V-Sport. And we have to use a full spec carbon helmet now, an FIA standard, which is set from around the world. So all supercars drivers have to wear these, and they are incredibly safe, but incredibly light as well, being full fiberglass. This helmet comes in at exactly 1 kilo. So we saw the heaviest was about this one of LP's 1.6. This one here at 1 kilo, very good. Nice, lot of padding there, no cutting and shutting this one. And then we've got our drink straw, which we just pop straight into our mouth, and where our earplugs plug into here, and there's a microphone fitted inside, and these plugs get plugged into the car. So you've got the radio and the drink bottle, and the radio plug is actually the same plug as what was on LP's last helmet here, so same connection. I also did chuck together some gloves and boots, but again, the technology hasn't changed that much, to be fair. This is the sort of earliest glove I could find, a J brand glove, sort of late 80s. Again, sort of fireproof Nomex material, into the sort of first of the sort of Revolution race gear gloves. And then they went through different ones where they had strapping like this, and Dad would cut the straps off, and then the straps were here. And then bit more fireproof gear on that, a lighter weight glove. And then today, our Sparko gloves, a lot lighter. They're an inside out pattern. So when you say inside out, if you look closely at this glove, all the stitching is on the inside. See, it's a bit hard to sort of see, but the stitching is actually effectively on the inside of the glove. And drivers noticed that would cause a bit of discomfort against the steering wheel or the gear lever. So what they started to do was do the stitching on the inside. On the outside, turn them inside out. So you see how all the stitching and everything's on the outside, so it's a lot smoother on the inside. So there's no lumps and bits of cotton and things digging into your hands and whatnot, creating a bit of discomfort halfway through a stint at Bathurst. So that's the gloves. Boots, this is sort of one of the first boot I could find of Dad's, a Simpson boot with like a suede material, hard sort of leather sole, bit of weight to it, kind of lace up and a Velcro. Pretty standard. I mean, the boot stuff hasn't changed a lot. RPM started to manufacture their own boots, and in typical LP fashion, from heeling and toeing, the right foot is worn through, which is quite a common thing. And Dad used to just replace one boot and keep wearing the left one. But you see, the left one's seen better days as well. So these were an early FIA spec, that's the FIA tag on them, Revolution race gear, double Velcros, lace-ups. And then fast forward to what is worn today. This is a custom OMP boot with Shaw & Partners branding, and it's got a ratchet style buckle, so no laces, no Velcro. You just twist that up and it ratchets the shoe tight. A lot lighter than the other ones, a lot more flexibility, probably a fraction cooler as well, but meeting all the necessary FIA standards, which on this one is 8856 is the standard, which is the same for all of this gear. Another part that we have today is the hands device, which I would have been trying to wear in this early vintage, to be honest with you. This is the device that sits over your shoulders. The seat belts come over the top and holds it into place. And then it gets clipped onto the helmet through this little clip here. So it clips on and it becomes a restraint. Then if you do have an accident, the seat belts holding these in place over your shoulder, and it stops the head and the neck going too far forward and potentially, breaking your neck in a big accident. And in more recent times, there's been another version of the hands device, which is mandatory in supercars and a lot of motor racing, is this Simpson device. So a lot of people, me for one, I get really badly bruised collarbones from wearing the normal hands device. So this particular setup just goes around your shoulders. You would have seen guys like Shane Van Gisbergen wear these. It clips in here, and then it's still got the tethers that clip onto the helmet here, and here they clip on, and away you go. So that is, in a nutshell, driver apparel from as early as the 1960s, 70s through to the mid-90s and today. So as you can see, quite a lot's changed over time, with safety obviously at the forefront, and I think it's only going to get more and more safer for drivers to come. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. Hopefully it wasn't too much of me talking, but I was really keen to kind of drag all this stuff out and show everyone some of the cool stuff that we've still got as a family, but also to explain some of the key differences in the apparel and the safety side of things, because it's an important part of the game. So thanks for tuning in to Perkins Engineering YouTube channel. Looking forward to bringing you a few more videos this year, and we can't wait for the racing season to kick off very soon. So stay tuned, keep supporting us on the Facebook page, like and subscribe our YouTube channel. We always read the comments, we get back to as many people as possible, so thanks for your support. Perkins Engineering online store, perkinsengineering.com.au. We've still got plenty of Perkins Engineering t-shirts. Perkins Engineering on the back and the front of the t-shirt. I've sold out of hats, but there'll hopefully be a few more to come, a few more hoodies, and we've got a lot of race car parts on there too. So you might see some wheels hidden down here. There's a few wheels online for sale, and there'll be a few more parts and things that we don't require getting online soon. So thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers.